Welcome back to All Things Mysterious and All Things Paranormal Investigation. We are about to go over our haunted castle house investigation.
But before we do, to throw a wrench in Jordan's plans, because I don't tell her anything,
Matthew!
I just want to take a moment to thank all of our listeners and subscribers on YouTube and everyone who's supported us since we started this podcast.
We do appreciate you, very much so.
Jordan's literally having to try to come up with something on the spot.
I can come up with stuff on the spot. You just don't prepare me for anything.
But we truly want to say thank you. Jordan said it best on our first podcast. Without you guys, we wouldn't even be here.
Truly, without listeners, there's nothing to support us at all. So thank you.
So just keep continuing. Just listen, download our podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel, watch our videos, because that's what we're needing right now is watch hours. But we just want to thank you. Now on to the main video.
A review of our haunted castle house visit.
All right, so let's begin with the crystals in the main room.
So when you were editing, you just messaged me and you were like, so the crystals were moving. And I was like, excuse me?
Yeah, and it was so weird because like my camera was right there. And that's why I thought at first maybe that it was when I set the camera down, I maybe jostled it a little bit.
Yeah, or when one of us walked by, it's an old house, so it's understandable that maybe when one of us walked by, the air or us stepping on the floor could have jostled it. But the thing is, we both walked by it and then sat down, and we stayed sitting down. We didn't get up and move.
You did. You got up and moved a little bit.
But I was far away from it.
Yeah.
I wasn't right there.
No, and that's the thing is I cut that down a lot, but I think it was like 7.5 minutes total.
Yeah, because we weren't really getting anything from that room, which is funny now looking back because I guess we were.
Yeah, and there was another thing that I didn't include because I couldn't be 100% sure if you didn't hit it. But when we were doing the tour earlier in the day, the ceiling fan chain was moving like crazy above your head. But I couldn't see on the video if maybe you got up and stretched a little bit and hit it. I'm not 100% sure.
To be honest with you, I'm so short that I probably missed it.
No, it was pretty low. So I didn't include that one. I will include the clip in this video, but like I said, I couldn't be sure because the way my camera was, I basically, after you were already standing up, I see it then, but I didn't even see it as we were recording, which is weird.
We left everything off. There weren't fans going. There wasn't anything going to make anything move.
No. And that's the thing is you would think that even if there was something, if it was just us moving or anything like that, it wouldn't be constant. I mean, it was constant moving. And it was, subtle movement. It wasn't going crazy, it was just going back and forth the whole time.
Interesting.
But yeah, that was really cool that we didn't even notice that. We had no idea. It's just when I started reviewing the evidence. No. And then, so one thing I did want to bring up too is on the tour, we had over 2 hours of tour.
Listen, this tour lasted forever because this place is haunted AF. Okay. And the owners of this place were phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. They took us to the outskirts of the property. They told us more or less every experience anybody had ever had within the house, outside the house, up and down the house. They had photos. They had all sorts of evidence.
And it really was a very thorough tour. It was great. They were so kind. They were just great.
10 out of 10 would be best friends with both of them.
Yeah.
They were amazing.
100%. We wanted to make the investigation short and not super long, so we did have to cut out a lot of it. Actually, quite a lot of it.
Most of it at this point.
And the owners of the house, Steve and Judy Skinner, they are great. It was very informative. And I may see about getting a hold of them, maybe posting the full tour, just like a standalone video.
It would be a really good standalone video.
Yeah, there was just so much. So when you notice in the video, we didn't include any footage from outside. The main reason for that is just because we didn't get anything outside. And again, we were trying to cut down on unnecessary footage, basically.
Also, Matthew was scared to death he was going to see a snake outside.
100%.
He was terrified, and it was hilarious.
Yeah, it was. And the other thing is, that was the first time we recorded outside footage. We obviously did the intro at the Sally house, but that was the first time Now, my camera, I was using my phone as my main camera, and I used the flash, and it actually worked pretty good. Jordan's, on the other hand,
Did not.
did not. So essentially, her footage was basically unusable outside. Even inside, I had to cut back a lot of it just because it was so dark. I tried brightening it up a little bit, but it didn't work very well.
Yeah, I just wasn't adjusting. And
No.
to be entirely fair, this was not just on me. It
No.
was the camera.
It was just weird though, because it wasn't that bad at the Sally house, but it was really bad there, which I don't know what the difference was. We didn't really change anything, but we still got really good footage. Luckily, the most active part of the house, which we'll get into in a little bit, we had a third camera set up, but we'll get into that in a few. Let's talk about the feelings that we had in that house.
We talked about when we went to the Sally house, that house made me and you both feel extremely uneasy. What was really different about the haunted castle house was you could feel that this place was super haunted, and you could feel that there were certain places that made you feel very heavy, but it didn't make you feel super uneasy, which is really different, I think. Because both houses you could feel were haunted, but this one gave you a completely different feel.
Now, there is two spots in the house that, at least one spot for you that gave you uneasy feelings.
Yeah, there was that one, and I was not about that. We were not staying in that room.
No, because even in the video, you'd mentioned that the only room that you had felt odd about was the room that we actually slept in, which is the reason that we decided to sleep in that room.
Yeah, we had to go against my feelings on that one.
I had a little strange feeling in there too, because it was just, I don't know, something felt off about that room almost. And nothing negative or anything, like it didn't feel evil or anything. It just felt like there was definitely something in there, which is odd because that's the one room that we really didn't get anything.
No, it didn't. We got absolutely zero in that room.
And that's why I didn't include any of that either, because we did the investigation, nothing. We had the sleep camera on for all night and there just was nothing.
We didn't expect that because it felt like there was something there.
Yeah. If I would have known that we weren't going to get anything, I would have left the camera set up in the main room that we were investigating, or even the master bedroom. But we just had nothing all night. Like, we had probably 8 hours of footage.
Of nothing.
Yeah, absolutely nothing. So that's one reason we didn't include that room, which is disappointing, because that's why we chose that room, is because that's the room that we thought we were going to get the most activity on. And obviously we're not always going to pick the right room. But, and then the only other room that gave me like bad feelings was the doll room.
See, and that's the funny thing, because I didn't get major bad feelings about the doll room, but it did just creep me out.
Yeah. And I think that has a lot to do with the dolls that were in there, because I just don't like dolls. And it seems like every house that we went to had creepy dolls in it.
It's a haunted house. It's got to have a creepy doll room.
But it was that room. I think it could have been possibly all of just the dolls in there. But yeah, that's the really only room that I almost felt unwelcome in.
I felt welcome enough in it. I don't know if it's because the dolls were up so high on a shelf and they were like looking down at you, and it was just so freaking creepy. And then there was the mirror in the corner, and it was a smaller room, and the way the bed was positioned, and I was just like, I don't want to be in here.
Yeah, that was definitely the shortest time we spent in any room. I wanted to get out there as quickly as possible. It just sucked.
It was just a creepy ass freaking room, man. It was just so creepy, and we didn't find anything in there. I don't think we had any experiences in there, did we? No, I didn't think so.
Not in there.
But they had previous experience in that room. And of course, in our heads, we're like, oh God, what are we going to find in this one? And there's dolls staring at you from every angle. It just ups the creep factor. I can't even.
And they did give us permission to sleep in any room that we wanted to. Doll room was definitely one that I was not going to sleep in.
That was a no-go.
Yeah. It was bad, but still not I'd say overall, even though we didn't get any actual evidence, it was definitely the creepiest room for me. So now the master bedroom. That room was probably the second creepiest room.
It really was. And I'm going to say part of it was how it was decorated, but the rest of it had a feel to it.
Yeah, it definitely did. And so we didn't actually show it in the video because there was really no good way to record it. But basically, the room that we stayed in and the master bedroom are actually linked by a closet.
And it is the creepiest little hallway closet between two rooms you have ever seen in your little life. So the way it's built, it's like it was one closet. Like, then they put a door on both sides and made it one,
'Cause
kind of.
my guess is what happened was it was two closets, then it just made one big closet that linked both rooms, which is weird because the master bedroom actually has two closets because it had that one behind the dresser too. So I don't know. Maybe at one point they didn't have that door there and they just added it. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it was just creepy. And that room, as you saw in the video, because I left that part in there, that room was probably the one that they had the most experience in. And even other people who have visited probably had the most experience in that room itself. We didn't get too much. The biggest one that we got was when I was turning on the REM pod, which has a temperature feature on it. The temperature was I forgot what it was, like 20 degrees or
Yeah,
something.
like 27 degrees or something.
But by the time I could move my camera to it, it had went back up to 61 degrees, 62 degrees. But it was a good few seconds that it was 27 degrees. That spot, I kept getting feeling coldness. And Jordan points out, I can't remember if I cut that part or not, but that is an outside facing wall. It was cold out that night, but it wasn't super cold.
No, it was only like, what, 55, 60 degrees something? It wasn't freezing.
No, it was definitely cold enough that you needed a jacket, but it wasn't cold enough because I did the whole outside tour without a jacket. I regretted it, but I did it.
You did regret it. It was fun.
And that's one part that cut out. Like when we were filming the intro, I'm like, Jordan, let's get this over with. It's freaking cold. But it wasn't super cold. And just the whole time we were sitting in there trying to communicate, I kept getting cold chills.
Yeah, and there were a couple of orbs that you got.
Oh, yeah. And we're going to talk about the orbs here in a minute because I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, you got a couple of orbs. And like you said, as soon as you sat down with the REM pod and immediately went off and immediately the temperature dropped. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, I was across the room because that room gave me the creeps. Just gave me the creeps so bad.
And that's one thing that I found after the fact because I was actually going through some of the evidence last night. Wasn't in time to
I'm not
put it
getting
in the video,
enemy.
but I found more evidence.
However, there was
found
a noise
more?
behind me a little bit ago.
What did we miss?
Remember when we were
Small.
in that main
Could have been
room, you
something
had
simple.
mentioned that you
So
heard a
just
noise
small.
down the hallway?
Vaguely, yeah.
So you were standing by the door and makes an offhand comment at the time, but she says that she heard a small noise down the hallway and didn't think nothing about it because I didn't hear anything. Come to find out, it was our bedroom door opening and closing.
No.
Yeah, I got because we had the static cam rolling.
Yeah.
And I went through the footage and basically lined it all up because I was trying to figure out what that sound was. Because, like I said, I didn't hear nothing, but you were adamant that you heard something.
Knew I heard something.
But yeah, so I'm going to include that in this video, the static camera footage of it clearly opening because you could see the light coming out of the hallway. It makes me mad. I don't know how I missed that the first time because I went to the static camera footage. Of course, there was a lot of it. 'Cause we had probably 4 hours of that
At least, yeah.
because we started it pretty early. But yeah, I missed it the first time. It was freaking awesome.
I knew I heard something.
Yeah. And it wasn't super loud either, but it was just loud enough. You could hear the door click.
And that's right along with things that they were telling us were happening in that room, too. They said the doors would open and close.
Yeah. So part of the tour, they showed us a bunch of videos and pictures that they had taken themselves. And one of them was of the door open and closed, and not the main door. It was actually the closet door. And that's one thing we'll talk about at the end, but we definitely want to go back. It was a great experience there. Now let's talk about the orb.
Oh, the orbs.
And I want to disclaimer this by saying I don't necessarily believe that every orb that we caught was paranormal, but there was so many of them.
Listen, we got to this one specific part of the house, and this one little room in this house, so beyond active, which is where we ended up catching that same door open and close. And luckily, it's exactly where we had the static camera. But listen, you guys, this room was so beyond, I have goosebumps. It was so
Okay.
beyond active. It was so freaking cool.
And that's the weird part is it wasn't just that room. We caught orbs in every single room that we recorded in.
Did we for reals?
The only room that I think we didn't catch any was the dining room.
That's fair. We didn't have almost anything in the dining. It was like nothing wanted to go in there, which is honestly fine with me.
No. And basically the living room that we were in, the only thing we really had in there was the crystals, some orbs too in there. The sitting room is what I called it. I forgot what it's actually called.
Parlor or something.
We had a ton of freaking orbs in there. And the weird part about the orbs is it was my camera catching them, except in the sitting room. The static camera actually caught a few of them.
Really?
Yeah. Jordan's camera, obviously, because you could see a whole lot. I don't know if we had caught any on hers. We could have, it just wasn't very visible. Now, obviously, the main two explanations that people have for orbs are dust and bugs. There was no bugs in that house.
Nope. It was really clean. It was like not really a lot of airflow going around. Honestly, you didn't feel like air going everywhere. There weren't bugs going everywhere. You couldn't feel it. It wasn't like that at all. Even with my camera sitting there looking straight at the exact thing that Matt's was looking at, I wasn't seeing anything.
And I had so many on there. Okay, so right next to me on my left-hand side, there was actually a little like space heater. Account for maybe the orbs like going from left to right, but it wouldn't really account for the ones going right to left, which we had a ton of those.
And they were like zigzagging and going up and down.
So I'm not going to sit here and say that the orbs were definitely paranormal, but there was just so many of them. I don't think it can be totally discounted as just dust. Because like I said, that house was not dusty at all. Like I remember Judy made a comment about she forgot to dust that day, and you literally could not see hardly any dust.
She was so cute. She was like, "Oh my gosh, I forgot to dust." And all of us are like, it's like dust free. Like, how often do you try and dust this place? Because first of all, it was massive. Trying to think about trying to dust that whole place is ridiculous, first of all. But second of all, like she's over here, "Oh my gosh, I forgot to dust." And she was the sweetest human being. Oh my gosh. I adored her so much.
She was a lot like Jordan. A lot quieter than Jordan, but a lot like Jordan.
That's fair. That's fair. But no, she was sitting there. She was like, "Oh my gosh, I forgot." I'm like, "Girl, it's beautiful in here. What are you talking about?"
So yeah, there definitely wasn't any dust. And so the sitting room is hollow. We got a lot of orbs in there. The master bedroom, we had a lot of orbs in there. We did not have any orbs, I don't think, in the doll room or the room that we slept in. But I'm going to add like a compilation on this video of all that we saw that night. Because even in the sitting room, we saw a bunch in there, or the living room.
I don't recall seeing any in there or having any on the cameras. But then again, we basically went in there, got super creeped out, did the investigation in there as fast as we could, and got out.
Yeah. We had probably close to 6 hours of footage between all the cameras, the tour, everything. And we broke that down to what, like 32 minutes. So obviously we had to cut out a lot of stuff. But that's why I like doing these kind of review videos, because then we can add some footage that I cut out.
And the thing about it is you can try and say that they're dust or you can try and say they're bugs. I get this. Okay. And I'm not the biggest orb person either, because I'm the first person that's going to be like, "Oh my God, it's just dust." But they were not moving in a dust-like way at all, especially when we were in the master bedroom. They were zigzagging
Yeah.
sharply.
Yeah. And that one, the zigzagging one was freaking awesome. But it's going to be down to whatever you believe in. I'm not going to sit here and say that it was paranormal. I'm just saying that it was there. We caught it. It possibly could be paranormal. But everyone's going to have to decide on their own how they feel about it. Like I said, I'm not a big orb fan. I don't necessarily like to use orb as evidence. But when you have that many, it's just hard to discount.
Yep, I agree.
So now let's talk about the technology mishaps that we had.
For the record, it wasn't Jordan technology mishap.
Technically, it probably was.
It was, but it wasn't just me.
So we're going to talk about 3 of them in particular. One of them, Jordan doesn't necessarily know the whole details on yet, so she's going to learn as we go.
Excuse me?
Oh, just wait.
Seriously?
Yep.
Matthew?
Don't worry, it'll be quick. So the first one we'll talk about is the corrupted audio that we had during the tour.
That's the Ouija board that Karen and Judy were using. And so this is the windows that have the curtain in it.
Oh yeah, no, there's weird. It's when the pictures take a nothing.
Yeah, the picture that's on the wall by Judy, it was one that was just here when we got the.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah. And it was only like 3 or 4 seconds. The only time in the whole video that we really had corrupted audio where it was like weird. Have no idea why. Because when we were doing the tour, me and Jordan were sharing a mic that we'd pass back and forth, which Jordan held it most of the time since I was doing most of the recording. And then Steve had the other one since he was doing most of the talking. That was in the sitting room. Jordan's and Judy were talking. Their voices were low, but still high enough where you could hear them clearly on the mics. The audio was just totally corrupted. Have no idea why. It was the only time in all the recordings where it got like that. It was so weird.
And those mics have been really stable. They haven't had any issues.
No, that was the first time we had any kind of issues with them at all. So the second one is the gimbal that Jordan was using. It's going back and forth right here.
Well, what's crazy is mine's not catching it, but my camera just moved by itself. I didn't move it.
If anybody's here with us, can you step close? It's going back and forth right here.
Well, what's crazy is mine's not catching it, but my camera just moved by itself. I didn't move it.
If anybody's here with us, can you step close?
Can you take another step forward? Oh, my gimbal just died.
Huh?
The gimbal just died.
That should have been fully charged.
Yeah, it was. It was fully charged.
Is it not turn back on at all?
Nope.
Interesting.
It's dead. It's done. Can you take another step forward? Oh, my gimbal just died.
Huh?
The gimbal just died.
That should have been fully charged.
Yeah, it was. It was fully charged.
Is it not turn back on at all?
Nope.
Interesting.
It's dead. It's done.
Now, we need to note that because if you remember on the first Sally house, I had issues with my gimbal going into portrait mode the whole time. Not the whole time, when we were up in the Sally's bedroom. Jordan had a different gimbal. Now, before we get into that, we want to note that when we first got there and started doing the tour, we did not charge the gimbal before we started recording. So halfway through the tour, like 30 minutes into the outside tour, the gimbal just dies.
Now, to be fair, we did not expect the tour to be 2 hours long.
Yeah.
So we fully expected to be able to go through this tour, get it done, get it recorded, and it'd be fine.
Yeah. And that's why Jordan, for most of the tour, we only had the footage that Jordan recorded because my phone actually died probably 20 minutes into the tour. And that's why even when we were doing the tour inside, it was all mostly recorded on Jordan's because mine was just totally dead. But I bring that up because after we got done with the tour, before we actually started our investigation, we charged everything. Everything was fully charged, both gimbals, my cell phone, all the camera stuff.
It was just a mess of cables everywhere. It honestly looked like a disaster because there's just like cables running everywhere, chargers everywhere. We had to go up and down the stairs 8 million times trying to make sure we had all the chargers, all the places. Where's this one? Where's that one? We have to make sure everything is charged.
And so I bring that up because when Jordan's gimbal died, it was pretty early on in the investigation. I want to say it was probably less than an hour into the investigation.
Easily less than an hour.
And mind you, these gimbals, both of them, when we were doing the Sally house, we ended up investigating for about 2 hours.
Yep. Plus the half hour or so that I had already done.
Yeah, and they were fully charged when we got to the Sally house. But then we didn't charge them all night. And they lasted easily all night. And even into the next morning, because we did a little bit of footage in the morning, which I don't think I actually included any of that. And I did a fair bit of recording at the haunted castle house. So it was fully juiced up. Shouldn't have been an issue. But Jordan's gimbal just, in the middle of recording, just dies on her.
It just wouldn't go anymore, and it made no sense at all.
And I think we never even charged it after that. I think it just came on its own later, or you turned it back on and it finally came on.
Yeah, it's exactly what happened. Like, I just decided I was going to try again, and it decided to work.
It was so weird. I have no idea why. These gimbals were pretty reliable throughout the whole investigation. So I don't know. I can't explain it.
I would also like to point out that the places in which both of the gimbals died were extremely active places in both investigations.
Yeah, definitely. Because we were in the sitting room and that's when it died. That was by far the most active place that we investigated, which brings me into the third piece of evidence. So what you guys don't know is we actually did 2 separate investigations in the sitting room. We did one at the beginning and then one at the very end. But here's the weird part. All the audio on 3 different cameras recorded nothing. We had no audio for that entire second investigation. Have no idea why. We had Jordan's camera, my camera, which was tied to the mic system, and then the static camera, which the static camera had audio throughout the whole night, except for when we were in there the second time, which is why I couldn't include it because we didn't have any audio whatsoever. And we did get more hits on the REM pod, which really sucked that we couldn't include it. But we'll get into the REM pod here in just a second. But yeah, so just no audio for that entire, and we were there probably for another 20 minutes recording.
At least we were having a blast.
Yeah, no audio whatsoever for that entire time.
It's just so weird.
Yeah, it really is. Because there's no reason. You can even see in the video that my mic was turned on and working.
Yeah, you can see the little light thingy on it.
It was green. And if it's not actually connected, it'll flash green basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it was solid green. So it was acting like it was recording. Even Jordan's camera didn't record any audio, which that was recording all night too. And then the static camera, same thing. Just all 3 files for some reason had 0 audio on it.
Which makes literally no sense at all.
No. So yeah, that's the kind of technical glitches, possibly paranormal, that we had during the investigation. A lot more than the first one. And I can only blame maybe the gimbal on Jordan because she was holding it.
I did touch it, so that's entirely fair.
Welcome to another intriguing episode of All Things Mysterious. Jordan, what are you doing?
I'm just taking a drink.
Interrupting my intro, just like always.
I just wanted a drink.
Well, you know what would make that water taste so much better?
No.
Our officially branded water bottle.
Our officially branded water bottle from our shop that is now open. Our merchandise shop is now open for you, and the link is in the description. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, backpacks, water bottles, doggy bandanas, and more.
Had to get that one just for Jordan.
I love dogs.
Not because she's going to wear it.
No, but my dogs will.
Although she might. I don't know. But visit us at allthingsmysterious.myspreadshop.com. That's allthingsmysterious.myspreadshop.com. So now we're going to say we saved the best for last.
I'm so excited about this part. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to tell you guys because it's so cool.
The sitting room, or whatever it's actually called. I don't know. I just called it the sitting room because there was a bunch of seats.
We did sit in it, so it could be a sitting room. I don't know. It was the room at the top of the stairs.
Yeah. Again, old haunted houses have friggin' horrible staircases. But you go up the stairs, there's just like this little open area where they have a bunch of stuff in there. Really cool room. And that is by far the most active. Not only in the amount of orbs that we had, but we also got hits on the REM pod. Now, if you don't know, the REM pod is, and I'm totally going to butcher this, it basically creates an electromagnetic field around itself. And anything that penetrates it, it makes beeping and flashing lights.
Yes. So in the video, you can see Matt will show you that if a person goes to touch the antenna, it will get louder and louder the closer that you get to actually touching the antenna. And if something paranormal were to do the exact same thing, the same thing would happen. And it also has thermometer.
Yeah. And it's also an EMF reader. So it's like a 3-in-1 device. Pretty cool. Didn't really get any EMF readings. We did get some spikes here and there. Not super crazy. But, and I want to preface this by saying at the South House, we got no hits on the REM pod. We did several times there. I don't even think I included all those in the actual video. just because we didn't get any kind of hits.
No, there was nothing.
And then at the Haunted Castle House,
We set it down in the sitting room floor and almost immediately got activity.
yeah, and even before that, we used it downstairs in the living room, got nothing. We used it in the dining room, got nothing. And then we go up to the sitting room. That was the third room that we actually investigated. Technically, fourth or fifth, because we did a whole like investigation downstairs too.
Yeah, and we went outside, but I don't think we took the REM pod out there. Anyway,
So we set it down and we start trying to communicate with the ghost. And like almost immediately, probably within a minute of setting it down, we get a hit. And as you can see that me and Jordan are nowhere near.
we're feet away.
And you can just see the look on Jordan's face. That was the best part about the whole thing.
In the video, you can even hear me. I'm like, if this thing goes off, and then it goes off, and I'm like, oh God, it's going off. What do I do?
It probably went off 3 or 4 times. We were trying to see if we could narrow down who was actually, and I asked if you're an adult, make the thing go off. It didn't. And then when I started asking if you're a child, and then it starts going off. But then I wasn't sure if it was going off because of the adult thing. So
Yeah,
now,
because you weren't giving it enough time, Matthew.
I know, I'm impatient.
Like, you need to give it more time.
She says that in the video several times.
I did. You weren't giving it enough time. It needs a minute to react.
Yeah, we had several hits on the REM pod. And even the second investigation we did up there probably had 3 or 4 more hits. So we had quite a bit of hits in that one room.
And the same exact thing happened. We went upstairs, we set it down. We basically asked if anyone's here, go ahead and touch this for us. And it did, to the best of my knowledge anyway, because we don't have the audio for it. And then I believe we asked if it was an adult or a child again. And I'm pretty sure it said it was a child. I can't remember 100%.
Yeah, it kept going off when we said child. And especially when we said Elijah. It seemed like it went off shortly after we said Elijah. It frustrated me so much that for some reason all that audio was just lost.
But let me tell you guys, having a spirit interact back and forth, answering questions was one of the most unreal things I had ever experienced in my life. And first of all, how proud are you of me that I did not panic?
I'm actually pretty impressed. Jordan was actually really calm throughout the whole thing. It was disappointing in that, but it was definitely impressive that she didn't. The only time she actually panicked was when she was sitting in a little small Harry Potter room.
I thought you were going to lock me in, and you were going to lock me in because I know you were going to lock me in there.
I was totally thinking of locking you in there.
I
Yes.
knew you were. I knew you were. I wasn't even panicked about ghosts. I wasn't panicked about anything else. I was panicked because I knew you were going to lock me in that little thing.
Oh, 100%. But ultimately, it was definitely a fun experience all around. I really enjoyed it. That was basically our thoughts and the investigation. Do we wish we would have recorded more? I do. I wish we would have had more equipment. I wish we probably would have spent a little more time in some of the rooms.
I agree. I think we probably could have tried again, maybe downstairs in a couple more places. But you know what? We will hopefully try again.
Yes. And that's the thing. We want to go back there again and get more equipment and actually have someone record so we can just focus on the investigation. If these videos take off and get monetized, we'll definitely be going back.
We absolutely will. And it's so cool to me, just in the couple experiences I've had, how different both of these haunted places can feel. Because the feeling at the Sally House, it wanted us out. But the feeling at the Haunted Castle House, it was almost playful. It wanted to initiate some sort of contact with us, but it didn't feel malicious of any sort. And it was unreal. And let me tell you guys, I was the first to be like, I don't want to do this. This is terrifying, but I'm actually excited. I want to go back. I want to try and do more investigation. I want to go to bigger places. Let's go. Like, I want to do more. This is awesome.
Oh, yeah. And if you guys remember when we first brought this up, Jordan was absolutely no. Like, it literally took a lot of convincing to get her to do this. because, we end up filming in March. When we first started this podcast, that's one thing that I brought up is that eventually I wanted to ghost hunt.
And I was all about the no.
And slowly over time, I finally convinced her the game show where she lost that put her over the edge.
And now I'm hooked.
Yeah.
Now I want to keep going.
So we will definitely go back. We will go to more places. And as some of you may know, we are monetizing our podcast now. So please continue downloading.
It would be cool if you listened
Yeah.
because we put out really cool stuff.
But all the revenue that we get from that will be going towards ghost hunting. It is very expensive.
We also would really like to go to Waverly. We really would like to go there. However, it's huge and very expensive.
Yeah.
But dear God, I would like to go.
Oh, yeah. And we've got a list of about 10 locations that once we are fully monetized and get some money saved up, those are the 10 locations that we're going to go to. A lot of great places, but we need your help with that. So continue to support us, and we will definitely do way more of these videos. Unfortunately, we only have 2 for this go around, but we will definitely have some more in the future.
Absolutely. You guys keep supporting us, help us out. And again, thank you for everything. We appreciate all of you.
So until next time.
We'll keep you guessing.